I thought this was fiction, but apparently it's not. But it sorta is. Welcome to this channel, I'm Øystein, and I'm trying to become a bookworm, and I'm taking you along with me on my journey. This time around, I've read this book, When We Cease to Understand the World, by Benjamin Labatut. I first heard about this book because it was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize this year, and I chose to buy it because it had an intriguing plot and it was under 200 pages. 185 to be exact. The author, Benjamin Labatut, is actually born and raised in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, but he moved to Chile in his teens and is described as a Chilean author. So what is this book actually about? It's only 5 chapters, and each chapter describes a story of a mad scientist or a scientist that you discover becomes or is mad. Most of the stories is from the first half of the 20th century, with some exceptions, and the stories are kinda connected. Connected but not connected. It's 5 different stories, but all of them have in common that there are scientists and there are brilliant minds and unique and new discoveries in each of the chapters. And some of the chapters sort of overlap in some sort, but it's difficult to explain. Let me read what it says on the back because I think the description is quite good. At breakneck pace, and with wondrous detail, Benjamin Labatut uses the imaginative resources of fiction to break open the stories of great scientists and mathematicians who expanded our notions of the possible. As they grapple with the most profound questions of existence, these troubled men have strokes of unparalleled genius. Alienating friends and lovers, descend into isolated states of madness. Some of their discoveries revolutionized our world for the better. Others paved the way to chaos and unimaginable suffering, for sometimes discovery brings destruction. I think that's quite a good summary of the book. I'll now go into what I thought about the book and some reflections I did while reading it. Before I started reading this book, I thought it was a non-fictional book, and as I started reading the first chapter, I realized that, well, haven't these things actually happened? And I read some pages and I thought, what is this? And I googled it and it says fiction but non-fiction. And I think that sums it up. As you go through the book gets more and more fictional. A big chunk of the first chapter is historical facts and not much of it is fictional. But as you progress in the book, more and more of the book is fictional. I actually thought this would bother me. In my mind, I thought that I either should read something fictional or non-fictional, not something in between, but I really feel that this book brings out the best of both worlds in many ways. I have to come with a little disclaimer, because if you read about the book, you might think that this book is a really, really difficult book to read, and I get that. I'm not very good at mathematics or the other sciences for that matter, and many times when I read the book, I felt that I didn't quite understand what they were talking about, but it didn't take away the joy I got from reading the book either way. So if you're one of those who think that this book will be too difficult to read, I don't think so. This book has many sides to it. I thought the book was very interesting for one. Of course, mad scientists and their discoveries are interesting, but it also made me very curious about the things and made me think about the complexity of it all. And it felt very inspiring in some way, that humans are able to do magnificent things. And this book really shows you that side of mankind, even though it has led to many people becoming mad. I would say the book is very beautifully written, but it's also very well structured, so it gets quite suspenseful at times. Even though you aren't waiting for anything, it's still suspenseful. And this is very difficult to explain, but I several times felt that I had to read the next page, even though they only might be discussing things that have actually happened and factual things around a discovery. Also, there's a mix of many different things. In the first chapter, you get the discovery of one certain type of color that ends up in something not related in my mind to color. It shows you how science can work, but it also ties the science into history and a bigger perspective. And that's a thing the author does a lot. It sort of drags you along on a bigger journey than you had thought when you started reading the book. which is very, very cool. Even though you get these big thoughts, the book is really also about people, famous people, like Albert Einstein or Heisenberg or Niels Bohr, and their discoveries and the relationship between some of these scientists. So you both have the very small perspective on one person and then on humankind, which makes it it's an interesting dynamic in the book. I've seen many people talk about this book as quite dystopian, and I understand that because many of the discoveries could be used for evil, and in some cases in the book they are. At some points in the book it's quite chilling to read because you know more than is being told in the story, and you know which weapons or what the discoveries have been used for later. So in some way, when I read the book, my mind was always one step further along the journey, and I was kind of scared for what was going to happen next. And that's kind of funny because you get the impression that the most dystopian things in the book are the things that are actually true and not the things that are made up. Humankind. And to round off, the book left me with the impression that people can do good things and people could do bad things. I'm sort of admiring people who goes crazy for a thing they believe in, or for something they want to prove, or a thing they think will make the world a better place, that you will see in this book. I can't really imagine myself leaving it all behind just to solve a mathematical puzzle, but I'm very glad some people are spending time doing that. If you're uncertain about my feelings for this book, I can tell you that I really love it. I was very surprised when I started reading this book, and I'm very glad I did. It's a very different book from what I've read before, and that I really appreciate, that the book opens my mind to new ideas and new perspectives. I'm still not sure if I would like to read more books that are both fictional and non-fictional, because I'm still scared of the genre. But if it's one book that made me think more happy thoughts about that subject, it's this. Thank you for watching. If you like these book reviews or my other content, please consider subscribing. And comment below if you have questions about this book or anything else. And I'll see you in the next video.